Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the Derbyshire Dales series. The Dales contain some of the most beautiful British scenery. It's a magnificent area. Here's one of its 109 civil parishes. Welcome back to the Derbyshire Dales once again, people. Now, we've seen a few big ones here in this part of Derbyshire, notably Eyam and Hathersage. And for this next little run out here in the Dales, we're going to be filling in the gaps between those two big villages. And we're beginning here at the River Derwent, which you can hear rushing below my feet on this bridge. This is a place called Leadmill, and it's within the parish of Highlow. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. Highlow, High Hill. Hello again, Derbyshire Dales. It's been a long time since we were in Ashbourne back in March. Our return to the area sees us once again in its northern climes and deep in the depths of the Peak District. This is Highlow, one of the smallest parishes the Dales has, but not the smallest. It's a thin ribbon of land which is characterised by its many high hills, including the one that gives Highlow Parish its name. Right in the centre of this small strip of Derbyshire landscape, there's a hill that stands out so much that the 12th century residents of the area saw fit to name it all after that feature. Since then, Highlow has grown mainly around two things: farming and lead mining. There are two settlements here. One of them is based around Highlow Hall, which itself is right next to that big hill, and it's supposedly haunted by one of its former residents. The other settlement is a little different. It's called Leadmill, and it's all based around a former lead mill, oddly enough. Leadmill also has a 16th century pub and a bridge over the Derwent, built to replace a ford in the 18th century. One thing that might surprise you here is just how different the landscape is when comparing the two settlements. One is high up in the hills, the other is in a river valley. Well, I suppose variety is the spice of life. Let's get walking, people. We begin this short walk not in Highlow but in Leadmill, on a bridge over the Derwent. On one side of the bridge the river is a fast flowing affair, on the other not so much, it's as still as a mill pond. The crossing we're on here is called Leadmill Bridge, and it's one of the 9 listed buildings in Highlow Parish. It was constructed in the late 18th century to replace a ford which was once here instead. It was later widened in 1928. There was anciently a second route over the Derwent in Highlow. It was called the Corpse Path because it was used to transport coffins to the churchyard in Hathersage. Now, as the name suggests, Leadmill was at one time all about that very activity. It's a small cluster of houses which were built around an actual lead mill. That said, mining took place in several locations throughout Highlow Parish, and historical evidence suggests the activity goes back to the 17th century. The mill building here still stands. It's the one seen here on the right of shot. After lead mining had ceased, it became a stonemason's mill until the 18th century. Now it's been converted into a private residence. The mill pond, also still here, has been used as part of a fish farm in recent times. Lead Mill has the parish's only pub. This is the Plough Inn, which was built in the 16th century. That makes it the oldest building around here by some margin. It's been welcoming travellers, tourists and locals ever since it was constructed, and doesn't it look appealing? So too does the scenery around here. The Plough Inn even sells itself by offering its would-be punters the opportunity to explore the Peak District from here, and if that's you, I say why not? Highlow Parish is blessed with walking trails that cross these lush green hills, so it's worth stopping here for a pint or two. It's all rather lovely, right? So if anything, Lead Mill is the bigger part of Highlow Parish. There is a little Highlow hamlet slash village as well, which is where we're going to go next. Now that has a couple of interesting buildings. The one that stands out most would be Highlow Hall. Now that's got a very interesting history. Let's go and check it out, shall we? Leaving Lead Mill behind, we're now on the narrow, twisty road that links it to Highlow. Elevation-wise, Lead Mill is the lowest point in the parish, so even though there are undulations on this route, you're climbing the whole time. Highlow wasn't recorded in the Domesday Book as a standalone settlement. Rather, it was first reported in public records from the 12th century as Hayghlaw, a word that literally means high hill. As such, the parish and the small cluster of buildings that we're heading for here is named after one of those hills. It's literally called Highlow, and it's 281 metres above sea level. Although it's a standout feature close to Highlow Hall, it's not the highest hill in the parish. That instead would be Bretton Clough along the southwestern boundary, which at 370 metres above sea level is almost 100 metres higher. And that seems rather mental, if I'm honest. You're always guaranteed, though, a great view in this part of the world. Blimey, I tell you what, you are definitely in the Derbyshire Hills now, people. If you come to this part of the world, trust me, there's some steep gradients, both on foot and in your motor. Now, behind me here, you can see Highlow Hall. That's the building there with the car in front of it. Just there. So we're going to talk about that and why that's got such an important history, and there's even a ghost story, I think, to tell in this particular part of the world. Let's have a delve into it, shall we? Grade 2 listed, Highlow Hall is an Elizabethan manor house. The current building is late 16th century with some later additions, but its history can be traced back to the 14th century. Dates are a bit sketchy, but this was owned by the Eyre family from around 1340, and by the 15th century Highlow Hall was the seat of one of their main branches. In 1842, the hall and its adjoining farm was sold to the Duke of Devonshire, the owner of Chatsworth House. There are some other notable associated buildings here, like this, the garden house, which we can get a better look at via a public footpath that runs alongside the hall. The garden house is also listed. It's likely this was a summer house or something similar, but now it appears disused. It was built in or around the year 1700. Highlow Hall's other outbuildings and barns have been converted to cottages, which are in separate ownership these days. The hall itself is owned by the Wayne family. Now, speaking of names, another associated with Highlow is Archer. Highlow Hall, its grounds and the estate are all said to be haunted by the ghost of Elizabeth Archer, better known locally as the White Lady. The Archers were linked to the Eyres, although it's not exactly clear how. And if you like a good view, that's not the only place you can stand to get one, because there's a road we're now going to take towards our next parish, which is one of the smallest in the Derbyshire Dales. And on that road, you're heading downhill, and you can see in the distance some brilliant vistas. So let's do that to finish off. Blimey, it's not easy to get onto this road, let me tell you. These lanes are extremely narrow, and I had to reverse back up the road just so I could make the turning onto this road. It leads down into Offerton, which is the next one on our Derbyshire Dales list, and as you can see from here, there's a cracking view into the Hope Valley. Isn't that fantastic? Right, now, like I said, we're going to head down into Offerton for the next episode. Look how narrow this road is. It's really only wide enough for one car. So all the way down, I'm going to be hoping and praying I don't meet anything, because if I do, well, I may have to reverse back up this road, and I don't fancy that somehow. But yeah, it's well worth it for the view, if nothing else. And that's it for this episode, but of course this trip isn't over yet. Offerton lies right in the bottom of the valley below, and it's a steep drop towards that river. Come back next week to see what's down there and if indeed I did meet anything coming the other way. There's more great scenery too. See you later. Thanks for watching this video, folks. Don't forget to like this episode if you haven't already. It really makes a difference with YouTube. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and give us a share too if you've got friends who'd like it. You can find all the links to my social media accounts below, as well as my Buy Me a Coffee page where you can donate to the channel. Also, if you've enjoyed this episode, have a look at some more videos in this series. Until next time, I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and I'm out.